Starting a business can seem like a daunting task, unless you have a partner like Shopify. They have the tools you need to start and grow your business. From designing a website to marketing to selling and beyond, Shopify can help with everything you need. There's a reason millions of companies like Mattel, Heinz, and Allbirds continue to trust and use them. With Shopify on your side, turn your big business idea into... Sign up for your $1 per month trial at shopify.com/special offer.
It's beyond time to stand up against bully tactics when supposedly doing the people's work with the people's money. It's time for you to draw a line and put an end to it.
So you just heard what a North Carolinian wanted to tell their state lawmaker, Don Bond, Capitol Bureau Chief and host of Under the Dome here at the News and Observer. That was Avi Bajpai at the top, reading from an email that we got with public records requests for state lawmakers. On this episode, we're going to tell you all about the people's business and how we found out about it, how we're sharing it with you, and what this means going forward. This is our latest episode for the week of January 22nd, 2024. And what we're talking about, that email that Avi was reading from, was from one day in September, was it?
Yeah. Mid-September, one of the most important weeks of the legislative session. This is from September 19th, to be exact. This was the day that we had a lot of news. We started the day with no sort of clarity on what would happen with the budget by the end of the day. We had
the long drawn out budget process, and this was finally when things were coming out. And as everyone was going, I was off that day, so I wasn't there for it. But as our politics team was going through the budget draft, our editor, Jordan Schrader, found the phrase public records and saw that the public records law was going to change in the state budget. So that set into motion a lot of questions, umbrage from the press corps. How did this happen? Why are you trying to make essentially 170 people that are put there by taxpayers and voters exempt from the same public records law that the executive branch and other public officials have to follow?
Yeah, and not just current lawmakers, but former lawmakers as well.
Right. So they're the custodian of their records, which means they can decide if they want to give them to reporters and the public when we make a public records request. So a lot of reporters have covered this in various ways. We, of course, did a lot when it came out in the budget this past fall. But what Avi and I did these past couple weeks, or it took us longer than that, was to both test the public records law, the old records law, the new records law. And Avi had like the major heavy lift with the email excerpt that you heard. What I had done was I put a public records request for the calendars for most of the year, January through the beginning of September, of the 3 council state members who want to be the next governor. And that's State Treasurer Dale Folwell, Republican, Attorney General Josh Stein, a Democrat, and Lieutenant Governor Mark Robinson, a Republican. And they are compelled to give us their schedules. Not everybody does it in a timely fashion. But that was part of this of we're going to ask for public records. Reporters do this kind of stuff all the time. We'll ask for calendars. We'll ask for emails. We'll ask for keywords of things to find out more information. We ask about salary data, which
all kinds of documents, all kinds of other sort of work product that comes up.
Yeah. What it does is it tells you more to the story, more to every story. Because if you're going to write about a bill, what about all the stuff that goes around in it with, emails between people where they're discussing something. And so the sound of lawmakers can be the ones that decide about their emails and maybe they're boring. A lot of times that is, and a lot of the emails you got were boring. So why don't you read another one that's not quite boring? The thing is, as we were talking about the timeline of this, casinos was the big deal of holding up the budget. And a lot of these emails from constituents were about casinos. So Why don't you read another email?
Yeah, so we received several emails from constituents across the state. We have a couple right here. We have one person so this was, as the day that we requested records for, this was one of the sort of like looming questions was Republicans wanted to get this casino bill across the finish line. They had briefly sort of flirted with this idea of putting Medicaid expansion together with casinos. That was sort of a short-lived controversy at the legislature. So we had one constituent, they said, please keep Medicaid expansion in the budget bill separately. Pairing Medicaid expansion with casino bill doesn't pass the smell test. And then they asked, just how much casino lobby money are you going to get? So there's emails on emails on emails just like that. Lots of concerned residents from across the state. Some people who lived in some of these counties that had been floated as possible sites for new casinos, basically emailing members of both parties, not just Republicans, but emailing their lawmakers and saying, we don't understand sort of why you're pushing this forward right now, and we urge you to oppose it, basically.
So with the change in the law, when the budget became law, I'd mentioned about the calendars of Council of State, of executive branch people. They're compelled to do that anyway. It's probably something I was going to do just because they're running for governor, regardless if there was a change in the law. But it worked out to put all of this together. And Avi's request for the correspondence was right at all as this was happening. And it was also to see that, you're not compelled to in the same way, should you, because it's public service and you're put there by taxpayers. And that was kind of what the point, of us asking for all of those emails was to see, are they going to give them to us? And then they did. And you got them some in paper form, right? Not even just like. We
got them in every type of format there was out there. We got some people who sent us just, straight up PDFs of their emails. Some people who, like you said, Dawn, sent us, got back to us and said, hey, you can come by our office at the legislative building and pick up a stack of emails. So we did that as well.
And then what did you do with them?
And then I combed through them and scanned them, put them together, which was a fun process. So, but yeah, the real sort of the purpose of this whole of this exercise was basically to see, like you were saying, there's nothing in state law requiring lawmakers to turn over their emails. So we just wanted to see who is still, after this, basically inclined to do so. Mm-hmm. When people get these records requests, do they sort of ignore them, or do they engage with them? Do they actually do they have some sort of motivation to respond to these records requests? There's 170 members of the legislature. We heard back from 38. We got emails from 38 members, members of both parties, members of both chambers. But ultimately, it's still a small fraction. It's just over 20%. And so that's one of the takeaways.
You got a few more after the story came out, right? Because those that wanted to, and then they're like, oh, wait, better hurry up and send Avi my emails.
We got maybe 3 or 4 more as well. And to any lawmakers who are still listening to this and haven't sent their emails, we'll still take them.
And add them to the story, and people can read that. And you redacted some information. So like the average person writing in doesn't need to worry about their information being shared.
Yeah, we figured that the average person out there probably doesn't expect when they write to their lawmaker that their name, their phone number, their address is going to sort of show up online 3 months later. So we took out personal information as well.
Okay, we're going to take a break pretty soon. But before we do, let's hear another email. Why don't you read another email, Avi?
So I'm going to switch things up. This is not casino related. This is just something kind of amusing. As you go through hundreds of pages of emails, you see some of the commonalities, some of the emails that everyone gets. And at 7:06 a.m. on September 19th, all members of the legislature get they get this ethics tip of the day. So every single lawmaker got this email, their ethical advice for the day that said, a legislator may not solicit for charitable purpose any gift from any subordinate state employee. And there's a number on there to contact the State Ethics Commission with any questions. So that's one of the amusing little tidbits that we found in all these emails.
I hope you remembered that ethics tip of the day there, lawmakers. And I wonder what all the other days are. All right, we're going to take a quick break. We'll be right back. You're listening to Under the Dome. I'm News and Observer Capitol Bureau Chief Dawn Vaughn here with Avi Bajpai. And we've been talking about public records and a test that we did to see if the state lawmakers, now exempt from the law, would still provide them if we asked for emails on a certain day in September about the time that all of the budget business was going down. And a lot of the discussion around the budget at that point was over casinos. So that was a lot of the emails that Avi found. And then, as you heard before the break, the ethics tip of the day, I read through some of those too. And it's a lot of like mundane stuff. Like some senator get an email where it's like the Senate adjourned or the Senate session is this time.
Everyone gets the classic. I mean, I think reporters can sign up for those as well. But we get the tweets. But everyone gets the House recessed at this time, the Senate recessed at this time. There's lots of other stuff that you would expect in the inbox of your average state lawmaker. Lots and lots of newsletters. I can say some of our own newsletters at the News and Observer.
The best newsletter, of course, is the Under the Dome newsletter.
Yeah, there were lots of lawmakers. It's funny, you get to see who signed up for that. But some other stuff as well. Lots of some emails exchange between lawmakers and their staff, although that was that was minimal. But lots of other stuff, lots of invites to speak, public engagements, conferences, stuff like that. And then just, all kinds of, you're a state lawmaker, you sign up to all these sort of like press lists. So once you get their emails, you go through them. It's just pages and pages of all kinds of other sort of like updates from different, political emails, fundraising emails, all kinds of stuff like that as well.
So they get a lot of email too. We get a massive.
Everyone gets email.
Everybody
gets
does.
Too many emails.
Yes, that's true. Too many emails. I don't have a lot to read to share from the calendars that I got from Folwell, Robinson, and Stein. I will note that Folwell, Treasurer Folwell is known for being incredibly transparent and responsive. And he almost gave me the records like the second I hit send. It felt like it was that fast. Or his staff tried to make sure that I got the exact version. And then Robinson's office responded very quickly too. It was within a few days. Stein took a little bit longer, a couple months and a couple follow-up questions, which it really varies by job and party. And there's really it's all Democrats, it's all Republicans, it's this job or that on how people are responsive and how staff is responsive. You can read the embedded in the stories. We have a whole bunch of stories about this, but the one I did about the calendars, you can see what they did yourself. And it's really not that exciting. It's about like a lot of people's jobs. They have meetings. Mark Robinson has meetings with his staff. Josh Stein has meetings with his staff. Dale Folwell has meetings with his staff. They eat lunch for somebody's birthday or some people go to Raleigh Times,
Some member of their staff is leaving, so they're doing a farewell.
Right. There's a farewell. Yeah. Everybody met with the interns and go talk to the interns.
Lots of media, good amount of media interviews, prepping for interviews.
Yeah,
as well.
Right. You can see. So Stein likes talking about, the issues as Attorney General, the opioid crisis, that sort of thing. And he'll go on TV for that. And Mark Robinson really likes going on different conservative radio shows. And Folwell, I think Folwell probably talks to about everybody, he's like I was saying, he's pretty accessible. So anyway, you can read that. You can read all those emails that Avi sorted through, again, at newsobserver.com. So that's what we've been doing. Public records, we're going to keep holding them accountable. And even when you find things that are boring and it's tedious, again, it's still the public's business. And everybody deserves to see what's going on. So before we get to our picks for headliner, political news wise, it's again like winding up to the primary. The Ledge wasn't doing anything. They had a non-voting session this past week and Burger Moore running around. It's just the usual skeletal sessions. But the president came into town, Joe Biden, on Thursday, and our technology and business reporter, Brian Gordon, covered that. And Biden was here really to tout broadband, which is, high-speed internet, which is a big deal in the state if you don't have it, especially in need for it. But This is probably just the beginning, don't you think, of these visits?
Yeah, I think it's gonna ramp up slowly. It's still only mid-January, so we have some time until we have a little over a month until the primary. I think we'll probably have to wait until after the primary to get lots of sort of like frequent visits from big political heavyweights to get Biden back here, maybe to get more visits from the vice president, and then also former President Trump, who
he likes to come down here a lot. I'm sure he will again. He's expected to endorse Robinson.
Probably expect another rally in Johnson County, like he's done before. So, it's kind of slow right now, but I think we can expect more as we get closer.
All right. So first visit of the year was Biden in January, and we'll probably like once a month at least, I would think.
Yeah.
We'll see how that goes. All right. So let's get to our picks for headliner of the week. Avi, who or what is your headliner?
So I'm going to give our colleagues Kyle Ingram on the politics team and Dan Kane on our investigative team a shout out for some really great work that they've done about Insurance Commissioner Mike Causey. Just go to our website. You can find a couple different stories that they put together, but just some really great reporting on some questions that have come up about Commissioner Causey's frequent out-of-state trips by road.
All by car, yeah.
All by car. Some trips that you might think it makes more sense maybe to fly on the taxpayer dime, but lots of out-of-state trips as far as to New Mexico. So lots of really good sort of revelatory work there.
A lot of what we were saying, some of our work is not a lot of whiz bang. It's tedious and it's going through things and spending time, but it's about telling people what your elected officials are doing with your money and how they're spending it and everything else. And so speaking of the insurance commissioner, that's a council of state position. We have just sent out candidate questionnaires for all of the council of state and a lot of other races ahead of the primary for our voter guide. So any council of state members, lawmakers, people that want to be lawmakers, if you're listening and you got the email from us, please fill out your candidate questionnaire. And to our listeners,
and please also reply with a high-profile headshot of yourself.
Yeah, high resolution. Photo.
High resolution. Yeah.
Right. So we'll get all of that in our voter guide to you all listeners and readers ahead of the primary, since early voting starts pretty soon, and we're getting there. So my headliner is snow and how North Carolina hasn't gotten any, and are we getting it or what? It's been like a long time, I feel like. Washington, D.C. got snow this past week, and it had been 2 years. It was January 2022 since their last big snow. And as we record this, are expecting even more. And it's time for North Carolina to have some nice snow. I don't want freezing rain. I don't want wintry mix. I want some like nice snow,
nice white blanket,
and build like a snowman and throw some snowballs and take some photos. And so you got that weather. That's my request. So, all right, for another episode of Under the Dome, I'm Dawn Vaughn with Avi Bajpai. Thanks for listening, and we'll talk to you next time.
For more from our politics team, subscribe to the News and Observer at newsobserver.com/subscribe. Follow us on Twitter at Under the Dome, and sign up for our weekly political newsletter, also called Under the Dome, at newsobserver.com/newsletters. Thanks for listening.